I would have felt safer in prison in England. This is bullshit, this is bullshit. The lockdown, Polish women like good eye contact. They like good body language. I'm so glad to be in my 20s living in Poland and not living in England.
They will never choose nice guys. But magically when they are old.
No one knew who Andrew Tate was. No one knew who Andy, this guy called Andy on Big Brother. You lose the girl.
You lose the girl, yeah. Then it was next.
You have to listen to that fucking horrible song, Baby Shark. Flirting in Poland is more of a national sport, yeah?
Good morning, guys. Today, I'm with Alex Wert. He's an English teacher, a Muay Thai practitioner, and a DJ by hobby. He's half British and half German.
Mm-hmm.
He came to Poland straight after university, and now he's here to tell us his story. First of all, thank you, Alex, for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, amazing, man. Amazing to have you here. So, Alex, you were born and raised in a small town in northern England by the name of Todmorden. Can you tell me more about this town?
Sure. So it's a small town. It's in between Manchester and Leeds. It's about 15,000 people live there, population. Mm-hmm. It's in the hills. It's rainy, and everyone knows everyone. There's a high school, one high school there, so you kind of it's that everyone knows everyone. Yeah, everyone knows everyone's business, that kind of thing. But I liked it like that. That's I didn't have any complaints about that kind of small community environment. And when I was growing up, I envisioned actually a life as an adult living in Todmorden and becoming an important person within that community. Getting a job there. I remember at one point I wanted to be an electrician, mm-hmm. And have my kind of electrician company and go to the pub on a Friday and just enjoy my life in Todmorden. Yeah, so I think even until I was quite a mature age, my vision for my life was Todmorden. Was where I would be. But then it wasn't until I went to university and I guess maybe was a bit older, maybe a bit before university, that I decided, no, this place doesn't have the opportunities that I want and doesn't have, that's it, yeah, in a nutshell.
They say this town is mystical. Why?
They say it, yeah. I wonder where you heard that.
Yeah.
So we could talk about Todmorden being mystical. I'm not sure if it would be Todmorden or Britain in general, yeah. So
we can start from Todmorden and then...
Yeah, sure. I mean, so you mentioned before the UFO thing, because you did your research on Todmorden, and you said that there was a UFO incident there. In general, Todmorden is quite mystical. There's a lot of paganism there. There's a lot of kind of magic there and that kind of stuff. And that's something, a difference I noticed in Poland, is that this kind of mysticism, magical, pagan kind of people, you don't meet them as much here. It's much more Catholic. Mm-hmm. And if it's not Catholic, then it's atheist. Or, of course, you're a Muslim, but that's a different story
in Poland.
So England in general is much more mystical and much more magical in the belief sense, in the practitioner sense, than Poland, and Todmorden, I think, especially so. And there was a very interesting documentary filmed in Todmorden, where one of the most famous magicians, celebrity magicians, called Darren Brown, he basically filmed an entire documentary in Todmorden, and he did various social experiments on the people of Todmorden. So, for example, he put a statue of a dog in Todmorden, and he said, Todmorden is a very superstitious place, yeah, famous for UFO sightings, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I want to pick this town for this experiment. Mm-hmm. And he put a dog there, and he said, I'm going to put a rumor about the town that this is a lucky dog and see how people react, yeah? And then on the documentary, it shows everyone saying, oh yeah, this is a lucky dog. Yeah, mysticism. Yeah, okay, it's really real. I'm going to touch the dog to try and get good luck. And that's kind of fake. Like in reality, people were getting pissed, getting drunk, and then pissing on the dog.
Wow.
And that was the most popular thing. That was the most popular response to that lucky dog. Yeah. So, but yeah,
weird,
yeah. Anyway, that's Todmorden. And
then you studied in University of Leeds.
Yeah.
Studied mathematics, yeah?
Yeah.
So how would someone go from studying mathematics to teaching English? How was
get that question
process?
a lot, yeah. Well, so we can start with why I did mathematics, and it was I didn't do it as a step in my career. I didn't say, okay, I want to be this kind of job, so I'll do mathematics to get there. It was more of a passion for me. Maths has been something I was interested in since a very, very young age, actually, and then by the time I was finishing school and going to university, it was my favorite subject, and I did a lot of changing of my mind about what I wanted to do. I started off with engineering. I was going to do electrical and electronic engineering, and then I went to those open days and felt like I didn't fit in there, and that I was just doing it to get that job at the end of it or whatever, and I wasn't really doing it for me. And then, so then I changed to maths and philosophy joint honors. I did that. I studied for a year. No, sorry, I studied for a month, maths and philosophy. And the philosophy bit didn't really resonate with me. I liked philosophy, you know, as a casual discussion type thing, but
it's good for self-reflection.
Exactly right. You've said it. So like this self-reflection and just pondering with people about ideas is very, very fun as a pastime.
That's the essence of life, actually.
Right, exactly, yeah. But then when you go to the academic thing, you see this is act consequentialism and root consequentialism. And then what did this person say about root consequentialism? And there's all of these isms gets thrown at you.
That's too much. They take the fun out of it.
It takes the fun out of it. And I just said, right, okay. And I started really envying these people who were doing maths on its own. Because they just have nice, simple problems to solve. Not simple problems to solve, but they have problems to solve, which is like, oh yeah, I want to do those problems. And so I changed course and did just maths. But your question was, how did I come to teach English after that? Well, by the end, there was no natural, logical next step after doing maths. It was just, I was doing it for me, and I loved it, and it was really, well, mostly loved it, and it was really felt like it was right.
What kind of jobs you expect to have as a mathematician graduate?
So banking, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean anything, you know, anything that's this kind of tier of information processing and calculating and making decisions, that anything like that. Yeah. So for example, banking. I had an interview at TSB Bank, which was quite interesting. Had an interview at Adobe. So maths can really easily move into computing type and programming type.
So essentially anything that is analytical or statistical is
pretty much, yeah.
Game.
Anything analytical, anything statistical. It's not a really, it's never, often there's a little bit of training. So, you know, if you want to be a back-end developer, you might need a training year or something like that, but they want to train you if you've got maths. So yeah, there were all of these jobs that were possible, but none of them really made me excited.
Really?
And because I could sense that it would be just repeating a process, you know. I could just envision myself sat at a computer with an Excel spreadsheet, putting in the same numbers, doing the same process, and then passing that process on to someone else. And I'm like, no, that is an absolute world of difference. When I was doing maths, I specialized in pure maths, very pure maths. So lots of logic, lots of philosophy as well, and lots of like proofs, yeah.
I know theorems and
So I wrote
axioms.
proofs, most axioms. So yeah, you have to say, okay, here are some axioms. Here's the proof. So I spent most of my time by the end of university writing proofs.
Too much.
And it's like, I want to write proofs after I finish university. I don't want to solve problems. Okay, I don't want to do applied formulas. Yeah, I like to write proofs. So all of these maths jobs, they're like applying formulas. So there's nothing, really has nothing to do with my kind of maths and the maths that I was enjoying. And so, you know, by the end, I was just pondering, and a good friend of mine, he had done a year teaching English in Russia.
Oh, wow.
In deep Siberia. And the way, just his face, when he talked about it, he didn't say, oh, it was so nice, it was cool, it was a holiday. No, but his face, when he talked about it, it was like, yeah, I've seen things, you know? And it was like, yeah, I need to do that, what he did. I need to go and see things. And just because of, you know, that's an adventure and that's life. And also that would develop me in a way, I felt at some level. By the end of university, I decided I was going to do teaching English abroad, somewhere, anywhere, yeah. So I was leaning towards Thailand, actually, because, you know, you mentioned Muay Thai. I'm not a big practitioner. I used to compete when I was about 15, but I still train it and love it, yeah. So I was leaning towards Thailand. I even found a job there, but then yeah, it was expensive to get there and stuff like that. And I was also looking at Cambodia, and it turned out that because of the COVID situation, which we're going to talk a lot about more, those places were riskier, not because of the virus, yeah, but because of the lockdown, exactly, the economy, the stability, and especially the job security. If you're in Thailand and the school closes, then there's a good chance that you're not going to have online lessons.
Yeah.
You're going to be out of a job, and now you're halfway across the world. So all of those things kind of made me feel, and I couldn't even afford to get myself there at that point, yeah. And no one wanted to finance me getting there. I was looking closer to home, and then I was even looked at like all European countries. But what happened then was I started to do my research on this COVID situation and think, you know, this is bullshit. You know, this is bullshit. The lockdown is an attack on us, you know, on our freedoms, our rights, and a transformation of society that is a very, very ugly one. And I wanted to resist it. I wanted to have these conversations with people about, I wanted it to end the lockdown for one thing. And I also wanted to resonate with people when we were having a conversation about it and say, how do we resist this? You know, this is what's going on. How do we resist it? And then I was leaning towards, because I was aware then there were various countries where the lockdown was disobeyed. You know, people were resisting it. People were not following the rules. And I was like, man, I already want to teach English abroad. If I can find a place where the lockdown, you know, people are ignoring the restrictions or the restrictions are less severe, then I'm golden. And so I was looking around various countries. I applied in Czech Republic, Russia, Poland. And then Poland came through first. So Poland was the first job where I got an offer. And it was in a town kind of around twice as big, still a small town, but roughly twice as big as the town where I had grown up. And I thought, yeah, perfect. You know, I'm going to do it. Let's do this, you know.
You started teaching English in Poland.
So I started teaching English in Poland.
So first you started in a private school or a public school? How does it work?
I've only ever taught in the private sector. Yeah. Okay. So I've never taught in the public sector. The first school I taught at was a language school in a town called Wukov. It was just a school. It had a building. It had staff. It had classrooms. You had quite a traditional lesson style. So I would teach groups of kids, and it was structured similarly to a public school. Yeah.
How did you manage to to live in a small town with no Polish? Because I would presume that they don't speak English that well as like in Poznan.
Mhm. Yeah, well, the thing about this school was that they only hired native speakers. That was their kind of unique selling point, that we have native speakers here, come to us for native speakers. And their business model was kind of to hire unexperienced native speakers, pay them minimum wage,
Oh,
and but they're native speakers, so that's where the value is. And then that was the business model. So basically, you and your staff, you and the other teachers at that school were all non-Polish speakers and all native English. And you kind of, that was your social circle then. And you kind of helped each other out. So you kind of went to places together and did shopping together. In fact, there was a teacher's flat. So the owner of the school, he also owned a property, which was like 3 or 4 bedrooms. And he said, okay, you work at the school, you live in the teacher's flat, you pay me rent. Very good offer for rent, 600 a month.
yeah,
And,
so much.
yeah, so yeah, things were different back then. And in a small town, things are different as well. So, but I didn't live in the flat. But anyway, so you're kind of close-knit with the other teachers. And that helped. And then other than that, it's like people are patient, people are patient and they are understanding. And they, what I found amazing was that when people in Łuków, that was the name of the town, Łuków, it was in the east of Poland, quite close to Belarus. And when people there found out that you were foreign, they kind of thought, wow, that's amazing, And someone from somewhere else has come to our town. We never see this. We never get this. And we want to make you feel like a guest in our town. And so they're very patient and very helpful and very accepting of this language barrier as well. And yeah, so it wasn't a problem. And then I learned Polish as well. So,
how long did it take you to learn Polish?
Well, how long is a piece of string, Sheriff? I mean, okay, to get to the point where I could have friends who didn't speak English and hang out with them and have fun and integrate them with non-Polish speakers, about 9 months, 10 months, something like that.
Wow.
By learning every day on Duolingo, by practicing Polish every day strictly.
So you were using Duolingo strictly?
I was using Duolingo religiously.
Wow.
And I had a 400-day streak, more than 400-day streak. The school that I worked at, they gave me English lessons, Polish lessons. Yeah. They gave me Polish lessons as well for free. And so I went there every week as well. And
wow. So that's the way, Duolingo and lessons.
Well, no, it's not really the way. The way is actually using it in for real life. Yeah. So really the way is using it in real life. Having friends who you have to speak that language, have to speak with in that language. And a friend of mine who worked at the school, Carolina, she was like a clerk at the school. She didn't speak English, yeah. I had other friends at the school, but she really didn't speak English.
Nothing.
And so when it got to the point where I'd already done got my basics down with Duolingo, then going in and just chilling in the office with her and speaking in Polish, the thing about speaking to her in Polish was that if I'm going to communicate with this person and socialize with this person, it has to be Polish. It just has to be Polish.
No way around it.
And that fact makes the world of difference. That just switches on your motivation and it forces you to do it. Your whole mindset while you're speaking Polish there is different when you know you have to, because then you're actually adding value. Yeah.
To yourself and to the other person.
You're adding value to the world, There were a few people who I was friends with who said, okay, I'm going to speak Polish with you because you like to speak Polish and you're practicing. But I knew that, if I need to, I can switch to English, and this isn't necessary, and it just feels different then, and the motivation is not there. The same motivation is not there. So yeah.
And let's say someone wants to learn English. What kind of advices you can give them, or how do you approach teaching English from your style?
Yeah. So I'll start with the first question because that's kind of the key. My advice to someone who wants to learn English is
To move to England.
right. Okay, that's a possibility, but you've got to be clear about your intention of why you want to learn English. If you really understand why you want to learn English and what it's for, what value are you going to add with this new skill of English? If you're clear about that, then you need to be clear about that, first of all. And then when it comes to the methodology of your learning English, then you need to orient your study around that. You need to orient your study around why you want to use that language and the value you're going to give. So for example, maybe you want to learn English because you like to travel and you use English when you go traveling and you meet people and socialize there and make new friends and things like that. And that will give you fulfillment in life.
Sure.
So then you orient around that, those scenarios where you envision yourself using English and what you want to achieve by using English. So then you focus on the words, the texts you read, the input of information, of language, of this new language. You kind of orient it around that, around your goals with that language. So that's my advice.
Okay.
So as for my way of teaching, I apply that. Yeah, I apply that when I teach. I establish why that person wants to learn English. And then I basically focus intensely on those scenarios where they will actually be learning English. Scenarios where they can see themselves using English. And I center the lessons and the program around that.
For example, you told me before we start this video that you mimic sales calls.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So I do lots of sales role plays.
Why is that? Why is that? Yeah.
Well, it started when a friend of mine found me, who I used to work with her. She used to teach at the same school as me. And then she went doing her own thing and doing her own school, basically, and finding clients. And she's got a big presence on social media now. And she messaged me one day and said, there's a business in Conning. They want to practice for sales in England because they're going to travel in England and they're going to have to do sales there.
Okay.
And they're going to pay for your travel. Yeah, Conning's quite far away. So I took that job. And then we started, because I've done sales in England as well. And I have experience in that. And what we ended up doing then was a lot of role play scenarios of sales where they have to sell to me and I'm a customer. And I have resistance in various ways. I have reservations about buying in various ways and stuff like that. So that's what I do, and that's what I continue now as well. And I also like to have different characters, different personas, which have different accents, and especially accents that are difficult. So I do a Scouse accent, I do a Glaswegian accent, and I do different character types that are tricky to communicate with, especially for Polish people. Yeah, so
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And let's say someone who is at the immediate level and he wants to speak better English, for example, to become more articulate. Let's say someone like Andrew Tate. Hate him or love him or hate him. He's one of the best speakers on the planet right now.
Really? You have low standards, I think.
I mean, the way he speaks, the way he convinces people.
No, he's not.
What do you think?
What do I think about Andrew Tate?
Yeah.
Right, should we just jump into Andrew Tate?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you be like Andrew Tate?
Let's talk about the way he talks.
The way Andrew Tate talks.
Because he's persuasive and he gets his message clearly to the people.
To lots of people, yeah. But I think he resonates with like virgins who have no confidence and don't understand that that's not what confidence looks like.
Sure, because confidence it's not spoken actually. Confidence it's not spoken.
Right,
just the way you act.
Right, very good point. Yeah. So his confidence is always spoken. He's always repeating how many women he sleeps with, how many cars he has, how rich he is, always repeating that, making sure that he tells you about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that a lot of young men who are still maturing, they see that and they think that that's what confidence looks like.
But the way he talks, like the words he uses, he's very articulate.
Look, so Andrew Tate, if you're interested in Andrew Tate, what you should definitely do is go and watch clips of him when he was in Big Brother UK. Yeah?
Okay.
It's not even Celebrity Big Brother. I watched this Brother live when it aired for the first time. Yeah. No one knew who Andrew Tate was. No one knew who this guy called Andy on Big Brother. Let me tell you this. It wasn't Celebrity Big Brother, okay?
Yeah.
Celebrity Big Brother is C-list celebrities, just nobodies, people who came fourth in X Factor 1 year, 3 years ago, go on Celebrity Big Brother. Andrew Tate was not even famous enough for Celebrity Big Brother. He was in regular Big Brother, okay? Watch him in there. There you will see what confidence looks like. There you will see what a cool, calm, collected guy. He's some kind of agent, he's some kind of CIA or MI5 agent or something like that, in my opinion. But there you'll see what a cool, calm, collected, confident guy looks like. And he's a totally different person. Totally different person from this whinging, irritable, sort of weird guy that you see on your screen all the time now.
So, in your opinion, he's not a good speaker?
Well, no, because all he does is get triggered and have outbursts. I just see he's always got this kind of triggered energy. He's always kind of whinging about something, whinging about people that have annoyed him or disrespected him. And he can't seem to let any of that go. And so,
in your opinion, who's the best speaker right now?
Okay. Good question. I think Syed Hassan Nasrallah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think he is, even though, rest in peace. Yeah. I think he is possibly the best iconic public speaker of this decade.
What did he do right?
What did he do right?
In terms of speaking?
I think in terms of speaking, that's an interesting question. Yeah. I think he spoke in simple terms.
Okay.
Everything in simple terms. And I think his timing is excellent. His body language is excellent. And his the force is excellent. So Andrew Tate, compare Nasrallah and Tate.
Yeah.
And you will see that Tate speaks with this kind of aggressive and wild and uncontrolled force and angry all the time. Whereas Nasrallah speaks with this kind of beautiful kind of force, it's a smooth and beautiful, powerful force, like water crashing, waves crashing on the sea coast. Yeah.
What do you think about Muhammad Ali?
Excellent.
The way he speaks.
Absolutely love the guy. Absolutely love the guy. He's a hero. Yeah. And the way he speaks is also, I think, definitely he is definitely someone to study if you want to learn how to speak well. Yeah.
Beautifully. Because he always seems to speak in poems.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and he literally, right. The documentary that I highly recommend called When We Were Kings. and it's about the all the build up to the fight against George Foreman.
Okay.
And it shows loads of Ali's interviews and all of the build up, and you see the difference between him and Foreman. So you see an interview with Foreman, and they say, "What if Ali wins?" And he says, like, he gets really annoyed. He lets it get to him, and he's like, "What? Ali could win? Well, I don't want to speak to you anymore." Then compare that to Ali. There's a big press conference where he says, "Okay, let's see. In this room, put your hand up if you think Foreman is going to win."
Yeah.
And then like more than half of the room put their hand up. And he's just looking at them like, okay. He's just got this smile on his face. Yeah. He's like, okay, like all of you are betting against me, but that's fine. Like I believe in myself, and that's enough for me. And that's just inspiring. And he is such an inspiring guy.
Yeah, man, he's such an inspiring guy.
Yeah.
Inside the ring and outside the ring. He did a lot of good stuff.
Exactly. But that's why, and this is what I believe. Yeah. That's why he is so immense inside the ring, because he's not just doing it to be good and to be the champion. Beyond the world champ, he wants to be the world champion, but a higher purpose. He has a purpose beyond the world champion. He wants to change the world. Yeah. So his purpose beyond the being world champion is to change the world. And that is where he has access to all of this immense power and this immense elegance and skill, which he has in the ring and in training and in interviews and in everything. Yeah, and he's sacrificed. So it was I think the war in Vietnam, and
he sacrificed the belt in order to
exactly and it's like that proves it, right? It's like, no, I'm first and foremost, I do what's right. I stand up for what's right. And I have a duty to humanity. And then secondly, I'm a world champion. And if someone wants to take my belt because I have to do the right thing, it's not an issue. It's no question for it.
Certainly the way to do it.
And Djokovic is again an example. Djokovic, because he gave up on the whatever, the Australian Open, because they needed him to be vaccinated with the COVID jab. And he said no. And he's the best there is, he's the best, he's the GOAT, and that's another example. Yeah?
You're certainly right.
He's not quite as inspiring as Ali, because Ali was just
Ali is different.
Ali, it's
different era, and he's a fighter, he's not just a tennis player. Yeah, you're certainly right. People need to have a higher goal, like something transcendental. For example, there is this called Maslow hierarchy of needs. At the top, it was self-actualization at the first, and then he changed it to having a transcendental goal, having something beyond, like, because if you have, let's say, if you have a worldly goal, like getting rich, you get rich, then what's next? You get the girl, then what's next? And then you see those,
you lose the girl,
then what's next? But you see so many celebrities committing suicide, even if they have everything, man. Impossible. Do you think if you have everything, you're gonna kill yourself? No, you're gonna live. Because it says they don't have something like godly, they don't have something spiritual to work for. That's why Muhammad Ali had such an impact, because he always had God in his mind. God, there's always another God. If you're just looking for the belt, I want the belt, I'm the best, done.
Exactly, that's it. And that's why I was so excited to be on a podcast with you, because you've got a purpose. I think that if you get popular, you got your following, you got your views, I can feel, that you want to do something with that. Yeah. Sure, you want to do something good with that.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And and that's why I was excited, not only to hear that you've got a podcast, but to be on your podcast. It's like double whammy.
It's all my pleasure, man. So, Alex, you lived in England and you lived in Poland. What's the difference between life in England and in Poland? Let's start first from safety issues, economic situation.
Well, when it comes to safety, I can definitely talk about that. I feel safer in Poland Um, what I've noticed is that in Poland, people don't go out looking for trouble. Yeah. A lot of people who are out and about, they're ready to deal with trouble if trouble arises. But in England, you get a lot of people just going out looking for someone to say something rude to test them, to break their balls, as they say in America, and to see what happens then, and just to bully people in public. You know, there's a lot of bullying in public in England, which you don't see anywhere near as much of it here. I have been started on in Poland a couple of times, yeah,
Wow.
out in public. Yeah, yeah.
Why? Why
I mean, I tell people and they say that's never happened to me. It's probably because you're foreign. And in one case, it was definitely because I was foreign, because the guy was saying, "Where are you from? Speak Polish, speak Polish." And it was me and Theodore, my friend.
But you understood Polish.
We
But
handle, we
at
do
that
speak
time you
Polish,
understood
yeah.
Polish,
And I'm good at diffusing situations. I've never had a street fight, but as you well know, I could have one.
easily.
But the real key is negotiation skills. Yeah, I'm good at de-escalating a situation, and I've been in a few situations here where I've managed to de-escalate. Actually, I should definitely tell you, when it comes to safety, about how safe schools are in Poland compared to England.
Okay.
And the difference, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've noticed asking people here, is pretty massive. Where in England, you are not safe. Kids in school are not safe. Yeah.
Really?
Because there's violence. Yeah. Where the school where I went to for a year in Burnley, violence was so dominant. Violence was the currency, you know? Violence was the currency.
And why is that? Is it because of different nationalities, or it's...
Partly, yes. So, but at my school, there weren't different nationalities because it was a Catholic school. But you know why? I mean, speaking to people in Poland, and I say, you know, what about violence when you were at school? They say no, not. So a lot of them say no, it's not really heard of, and some say, okay, there's little scuffles, but in England, it's people going to hospital and people getting their noses broken and things like that. I'm not saying it was a regular occurrence. It was maybe a few times a term that would happen. And of course, there's always that tension where it could happen of any moment. And certainly every single day, people got threatened to do that to them, you know. And
I'm surprised that it happens even in Catholic schools.
Well, it was, you know, the thing about this Catholic school, the going theory was that racist parents who didn't want to be with Muslims send their kids to Catholic school to get them away from the Muslims.
Okay.
Yeah, so
and they end up fighting each other.
They were the most demoralized, the most amoral people you've ever seen, you know, at that school. It was like, I would have felt safer in prison in England. Okay, prison in England is pretty okay. Yeah. It's good conditions. Since the 90s, yeah, there was a big riot once and things changed. But I think that people in prison have more respect and do less bullying and less threatening of violence and less fights, maybe even, yeah. And the thing is, I think in prison in England, you can stay out of the violence if you want to, yeah? Unless you're a nonce, yeah? But you can stay out of the drugs, you can stay out of the getting into debt and stay out of it, from what I've gathered from documentaries, etc. But at school, at certain high schools, you can't, because people will bully you, you know, if you're walking around looking like you want to mind your own business, they won't let you mind your own business. They will bully you and see what you're made of. Yeah.
Wow. They kind of provoke you in order to fight.
And this is why I started Muay Thai. This is why I really got into Muay Thai. Yeah. Because life's tough and life becomes way easier. Where in the back of your mind you think, I could handle myself if it came down to that. And that person who's trying to push me around, I can walk up to him and say, let's go.
Let's go.
And then he'll leave me, he'll respect me after that, and things like
Because if
this.
you think about it, most fighters don't start fights outside. Like,
Right.
no, like,
Yeah.
none fight. They
Yeah.
are all nice guys. Like, they don't care.
They don't
about,
have to prove it, do they?
Yeah,
They don't have to prove that they can. So
they don't have to prove it because they did it
Yeah.
in the ring or
Yeah.
when they train. When you train,
yeah,
you
exactly.
don't have to go in the street and hassle people
Yeah.
and fight with them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So safety. So that's safety in Poland versus England.
Okay.
Did you mention? I'll
Say
give
about
you
the economic situation,
economic situation.
like
Wow.
the job market. The job market. How did Brexit impact England?
Yeah, the Brexit impact is I hate this framing of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, yeah.
The Brexit impact, it's the EU impact, yeah.
The EU
It's the
impact
EU
more-
sanctioning us, you know. The EU has decided to sanctioning us because they want to punish us and they don't want that to happen elsewhere. And so on, yeah. They don't want that to happen elsewhere.
Mhm.
You know, we can't live, British citizens, we can't live in the EU as easily anymore. Why? Is it because of Brexit? No. It's the EU decided we shouldn't, yeah? What difference does Brexit make? The EU has decided that British workers can't work here easily. So, you know, it's a war, yeah? It's a war, you know? They made things harder for British workers. And of course, it's a long story, but really, the war is the working class against the ruling class, the class
Always.
war, yeah? And Brexit, the EU is a machine, is a machine to erode the Republican constitutions and erode the independent currencies and all of these things which put the working class in a better position, yeah? For example, currency. If you've got your own currency,
Mhm.
then if you want to take power in your country, yeah, then the EU can't devalue your currency.
No
yeah?
way.
They can't devalue your currency. That's one example. Laws, for example, as well, yeah? So the EU writes laws which are binding for the member states, yeah? Okay. Well, if you, what you can do if you're not in the EU is you can hold your own government to account and say, we don't like that law. No.
It's your fault.
And if you pass that law, you won't get into election next time. Yeah. So there's this kind of bargaining that goes on between the politicians in your parliament and the workers. Yeah. Well, the EU takes that kind of bargain, that negotiation doesn't even happen anymore. Because the laws just go through. And all of the laws, it's a big scam machine. It's a big scam. You know, the regulations, the regulations for farmers, for example, where your milk can't be this and this and this, what it basically does is it makes it harder for those small independent businesses to survive. Yeah. It's like we can't legally sell this milk. We've got good milk here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could sell it. But the EU, because reasons, we can't sell that milk. Yeah. Okay. Those laws apply then to the big corporations as well. But because of their scale, they can afford to implement those technologies. Yeah. They can afford, and there's all kinds of like trickery as well, where they get loans and stuff to do that. And sometimes they're even exempt. So the regulations are ridiculous. And, you know, there is, I taught a student who said the environmental regulations, you need to calculate whether your environmental regulations meet EU standards. You have to buy this Excel file. You have to pay for access to this technology where you put in numbers here. And it was like in the over 10,000 zloty cost to have this technology, which is a requirement now. to make sure that you put in your data and it says if you're golden or not, according to EU regulations. So it's a load of scams. It's scams upon scams upon scams. And so we had to get out. And when we get out of that, it doesn't mean it's all clear sailing. We've still got this class war. We still have this monarchy, this ruling class in our country, but it's a step in the right direction. And if things get worse after Brexit, come on, that doesn't mean we did the wrong thing. Just because things have gotten worse since Brexit, that is such low-level thinking, yeah? If you are in a war and you advance, you make a decision to push the enemy back. Oh, and then 2 weeks later, the enemy advances and your situation is worse. Do you say that, the enemy does a counter-offensive, yeah? Oh, the enemy countered. Oh, and now we're on the back foot again. We should never have resisted. That's not the logic. No, that's not how it goes. And I just don't like this really, really low-level thing.
And you don't like monarchy, right? You are not in favor of...
No, absolutely not.
So you told me that you are a Marxist.
I am a Marxist,
Can you expound on that?
Can I expand on that? I can tell you what...
You can tell me the main idea of Marxism
main idea
and how it will change UK.
Okay, so there's a handful of things. First of all, if you read the Communist Manifesto, it starts by saying, all of hitherto history is the history of class struggles.
Yep.
Before, when we had tribal society, there wasn't such thing as private property. Yeah.
Everything was shared.
Everything was shared and it was communal. So, okay. So this is, we need to produce something here. Like we need to hunt. So we go and hunt a deer. Okay. Right. That deer is for the tribe. The tribe is almost like an organism in itself. Yeah.
Exactly.
And your body, your organism is also democratic. Yeah. So, and communal in a way. Yeah. And so then the idea is that throughout civilization, you have had this separation of society into the property owners and the property-less.
So the bourgeoisie and the proletariat,
not necessarily. That's just one specific instance of that. Yeah. So actually, there's that's during capitalism. That's the two classes: the ruling classes, bourgeoisie, and the working classes, proletariat. But the point is that the working class, they basically provide their labor to produce society's wealth, but then they don't have access to it, except for just enough to survive, This is a generalization, but they don't own it. And then the ruling class own all of society's wealth, okay? And they don't allow access of that wealth. They don't allow an equal share because that would be communism, And they don't allow that equal share to that working class. And that's a big contradiction, And that creates a fundamental antagonism, Because as humans, you want abundance, you want freedom, And you have this instinct for equality, that comes from tribal society as well. So that's a big contradiction. So the natural instinct of the working class is to say, we don't like this. We want it better. We want to have things better. Look how rich they are and look how much they have. We want to have something more like that. So what happens then is, in order to maintain that tier system, the ruling class has to has to use force, either through manipulation, through deception, or through religion, or of course, I'm not against religion, but using religion to enforce doctrines, and then through violence eventually as well. And that's what they have to do to keep that tier system going. And by using that force and that violence, those working class people get even more angry, and they even more desperate to revolt, to resist. And so that these conditions of inequality of distribution of wealth, and then forced to maintain that inequality, these conditions reproduce itself, and there's this constant war. There's this constant war going on. So that's one of the main theories of Marx. And then another key theory of Marx is this idea that all of science and all of knowledge and all of language is all one kind of human enterprise. Yeah. So there's no difference between, and this comes from other people before, like Kant and Hegel, but I don't know about those guys really. I did read a bit of Kant, but like that everything is everything that we discuss and talk about and study in the universe, including history and biology and science, this is all one field, which for Marx would be called material dialectics. Yeah. And there's a few principles of this idea, this field of material dialectics. So that's another precept of Marx. And then finally, another key part of Marx is, or two more. I'll give you two more. The one is this labor theory of value. So
surplus value.
Surplus value is part of that. So his theory of surplus value, labor theory of value, the idea that that value, exchange value, so exchange value in the term or in the sense of
comes from
the kind
labor.
of thing. It comes from labor invested in it. It comes from labor that's kind of like that's kind of put into that object. Yeah. So so that's one. That's the theory. And then finally, communism, the program to end this class war, the program for humans to have freedom and equality, that is also Marx. So if you read the Communist Manifesto, you can see there, he's got something like a 10-point plan where he says, this is the next step. Yeah, this is the next step. And that is what you would call socialism then as well.
Do you think that will save the UK?
I think that Marxism, more than just this 10-point plan, yeah, it's an approach. It's an approach to politics, which you apply in every situation. You know, like, do we vote Brexit? Yes or no? Okay, let's have a look at these conditions. Let's have a look at the working class's position and base it's just a next step based on that. Yeah. So I think it's an approach to politics, an approach to life in general, which is beneficial, yeah, which I live by, and I do believe in socialism. I think that in Britain, I think that socialism could become a popular movement very soon, very quickly. In Poland, not so much. It's not very popular here. They have an aversion to it that's a lot stronger than in Britain. Certainly, they don't have that aversion in the Ukraine, in Belarus, in Russia, Kazakhstan, Georgia, etc. Loads of communists there. Loads of communists who are old and lived years through socialism, through the USSR. But in Poland, not so much, yeah? And I don't want to come here and say, be communist, be communist, be communist, yeah? I want to come here and say, okay, here's where the political climate is. Here's, a popular view, some popular views, and to kind of integrate in that and just delicately give my side. Mm-hmm. And I've found it's been amazing how people have been accepting of all of my political views in Poland, and much more so than in Britain. Mm. So you asked about the difference, the political difference. And I mentioned, I think, the restrictions, yeah?
Yep.
And the COVID is all a big conspiracy. It's all planned ahead, and it's all to destroy our freedoms, etc., and impose a new world system. And when I came to Poland, I was absolutely amazed at how many people understood that how many people, you start that conversation and it's like, okay, why are they doing this to us? And they say, yeah, I think they, I think it's because they want to take our freedoms away, etc., etc. And it's just, I was blown away at how mature, how well-read, how politically sensible people in Poland
they're
were.
super aware.
And I'm not talking about, people say, oh, I like Poland because it's right-wing. And that's what you see on Twitter.
Yeah.
Not like that.
Like
They're
that.
just mature. They're well-read. They have this political maturity, which I think comes from the socialist era largely as well. It's transmitted by that socialist era.
And what about the lifestyle here?
The lifestyle?
Life standards.
Living standards.
Yeah.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Now, living standards is very hard to measure, isn't it? Because it
depends on your income, it depends on your...
What I can tell you is that I didn't realize how depressed England was as a country, how much of an epidemic depression and various personality disorders were in England until I came to Poland. I lived in Włocków and I was looking around and I was just thinking, wow, people here are happy to be alive. They may not have it easy, they may not have an easy life. They may have, a problem with job, with work, etc. But they've just got this, they just seem happy to be alive. Yeah. They seem to have this lust for life. And I'm surrounded by people who aren't depressed. And I thought that was amazing. And so I think that there's humanism here and there's spirituality here that goes beyond just the Vatican's diktats, the Vatican's doctrines. There's a spirituality here and humanism.
Yeah, but certainly in the UK, life is becoming more secular.
More secular?
More secular, yeah.
Well, secular, I think that Poland is perfectly secular.
Not much.
You can be whatever religion you want here.
Yeah, but
it's
you
not
still
really
have
an
that,
issue. Yeah.
The church here is important.
Okay, that's true.
Religion is still important.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So I think it's funny, this word secular, because
secular don't believe in anything. You're just
the church in Poland has massive not only influence but massive property, land ownership and all of these things. The Vatican is massive there, and the Vatican are beasts. They're Satanists secretly, and that's a big and bad thing. But what's interesting in Poland as well is there's a big atheist movement, and this is a
small one?
No, it's not small at all. Not small at all. But
Compared to
often you
Christianity.
find that it's this this quite ignorant kind of atheism. I don't mind, I don't mind someone who doesn't believe, but it's this reductionist atheism, where, and especially this kind of the scientific dogma, yeah? So often, if what seems to be happening in Poland is whatever kind of intellectual and political territory the Catholic Church cedes seems to be gained by this Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation science dogma, take the vaccine, wear your mask kind of religion. And it's like a religion, yeah? So that kind of comes in then, and those people are atheists and so on, yeah? So, and it's kind of, you can say, oh, it's not religion, but it serves that very much the same function as the Catholic Church, yeah? To control people and to stop them.
Certainly, if someone doesn't believe in God or any higher power, you can just implement any ideas you want.
But even if they do, you can do the same thing, yeah?
Yeah. For example,
maybe a similar thing,
Yeah. Because it's hard to believe that this world came from nothing, yeah? Doesn't make sense.
It is hard to believe, and I don't believe it. Yeah.
It's impossible because, for example, you look at the phone. What's the first idea we'll have? Someone made this phone, and you look at the world and you say, "Oh, it came from nothing."
Pretty much, yeah.
Or it gave
because someone did. You know that someone made the phone.
It.
You know that someone made that phone, right?
Yeah.
You know that someone made that phone.
And the phone is not that perfect, but the word Perfect. Everything is working in unison.
Right. Yeah.
And then you
Or
say,
people can't see that. And
yeah.
I think from a very young age, when you're bombarded with, when your relationships are terrible, and you at school you don't learn true things, you don't learn in the proper way. People just don't see the beauty of the world. Yeah, I think people are conditioned when they grow up to not see the beauty of the world, to see ugliness. Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
And
then they start
the
blaming
music. You go to school and you have to listen to that fucking horrible song, Baby Shark. Yeah, Baby Shark. And you know, how does a kid who has to suffer Baby Shark every day for a week, how do they see the beauty in the world? You know, and this is part of it. This is part of it. So then it doesn't seem natural to think that there's it doesn't seem natural to think that there's an organizing power of the universe that is fundamentally perfect. And when you've listened to Baby Shark from 6 years old.
Yeah, because they think that life should be always good, but
right.
How do you know that something is good if you didn't experience bad?
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's part of life.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And you've got to think, you know, I think it's it's a good way of staying sane.
For sure.
Is when you say, okay, I'm going to try and go into this situation, and this is what I hope will happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't happen, and when something fails, something goes wrong, or something goes not how you hoped, then you've got to look at the wider perspective and think, oh, wait, maybe that's exactly what I needed for my broader, you know, for my broader desires in life, my broader intentions in life. More often than not, if you look at take that wider perspective, you think, it's good that failed. It's good that I didn't get what I wanted there, because then that made me do this, and that's what I really wanted. Yeah, and that's so. It's good to have that. And I think if you are spiritual, you know, and I would classify you as well as me as spiritual, then you're open to that, and then you start seeing it. When you're open to seeing it, you start seeing it. Then you start to realize it's real, yeah? That there is that organizing force.
Because exactly, when you are spiritual, whatever happens for you, it means something. Okay,
right.
I had this good experience.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. I had bad experience. I learned something.
Yeah.
It's not always, okay, it's bad, so everything is bad. No, it's you plus one experience.
Right. Yeah.
If you had 10 bad experiences, it's you plus 10 experiences.
Right. That's the new you. Yeah.
It's the new you. Yeah. So you always, when you look at it at this point, from this point of view, okay, I'm always learning something.
Yeah.
It's bad or good. It's bad or good.
Not only that, but all of your experience will, it's not lost when you die.
Oh,
yeah. Even if you want to look at it materialistically, because all of this new self, at the end of all of those trials and tribulations, that is transmitting to the universe all of those previous experiences. Yeah.
You teach it to your kids.
Let me give you an interesting thing. It's good to remember. So this conversation, if I'm having with you now, you have a conversation, you tell someone something, okay? And then maybe later that day, or as the day goes on, they will speak to maybe 5 people, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. And then after speaking to you, yeah? And those 10 people will also speak to 10 people the next day, yeah? So if you ask yourself, how long will it take for, after me speaking to that person and leaving my impression on that person, and him leaving an impression on some other people and some other people and some other people, so for your impression to be transmitted to all of humanity, it's maybe 2 weeks, a month, or the majority of humanity. So you can make a big difference, yeah? And that will last forever then. That will be transmitted forever in the future.
Exactly.
And that's when you're talking about going through suffering and becoming someone new at the end of it. All it takes is one conversation with someone, and you've changed the course of history. Yeah,
mindset
so you've
shift.
got to remember it. Yeah,
Exactly. And now let's move to the fun stuff.
right.
What do you think about dating in Poland in
Dating,
comparison with dating in England?
Okay, so yeah, dating in Poland, for me personally, I find it way easier. Find it way easier to meet girls, and to make the initial first steps into building a relationship. So one cultural difference that I notice about England or Britain and Poland is that flirting in Poland
It's different than
is more of a national sport. Yeah, so it's more fluid, it's more casual, it's more acceptable. You know, you can just go around and, like we saw before, you know, like you can just flirt a little bit with everyone, and without even thinking about it, you just flirt your way through the day with all the interactions that you have. And and that's good, because then you flirt a little bit, and that's the first step, the connection, the rapport, and you've made that first step towards building a relationship. Then you can do that 5 times a day. Yeah, in Poland. In England, it seems to be a different story. It seems to be if you go into an interaction with a stranger and there's you know, I'm not talking about like approaching, I'm talking about at the cafe ordering a coffee. Yeah. And if you smile a bit and give some eyes and say something, you know, a little bit friendly and funny, flirty, then often they already see that as a strategic move that they have to then, you know, calculate, this guy is coming on to me and I don't think so, and no. And so I think in England, everything is very, very formal until it's not. Yeah. Very, very formal until two people decide, okay, let's flirt now. And they start flirting. So making that initial step, there's so much resistance to making that initial step where a rapport is building and a relationship is building. And I think for that reason, Poland is I find it way, way more healthy. You know, the dating, I don't want to say market, I want to say the dating culture is so much healthier in Poland. Maybe it's just my perception. What could also be the case, and I think it's a mixture of two things, is that what Polish women look for in a man is somewhat different to what British women look for in a man, and there's much more. Polish women like good eye contact. They like good body language. They like aura and things like that. And British girls are not really, because they're depressed. They're not so sensitive to those things. They're sort of outside of the physical a lot. They're a lot more in their own heads and not in the physical, and in their senses, because of this depression epidemic. So I think Polish girls find it easier to judge a character in a split second. I say, you see this guy and you see in his eyes that he's got these character traits that I want. I'm looking for in a man, and then boom, we're away. We can start getting to know each other. So to cut a long story short, for me, and I think in general as well, I find the dating culture in Poland is so much healthier, and I am so glad to be in my 20s living in Poland and not living in England.
Yeah. Do you think that dating a Polish woman is always for the goal of having a long-term relationship, or it's sometimes just for okay, let's do this?
Yeah, no, but go on. Yeah.
So my question is, do you think that Polish women, most of them, they look for a long relationship, maybe marriage, or it's still different? They want something casual.
I think that's the other thing. The other really big difference is that in England, in Britain, looking for something casual is much more common. Yeah, much more common. So people, there's like sex addiction in England, you know, and there's a lot of hookups where there's no emotion in it. Yeah, it's just kind of there's no emotion in it. Yeah,
It's
it's
kind
just
of
to get a.
transaction.
It's like they just like people in Britain like to take cocaine, MDMA, and ketamine. They like to have sex for the same reason. Yeah, and
I understand.
I found that in Poland it's much more than before taking you know the relationship to that level of intimacy. They want to feel that there is some level of commitment, you know, and
Which is healthy and is good.
that took a bit of getting used to for me, but I like it actually. I like it because I find that actually casual things, you know, when I'm getting to this age, casual things seem to be a waste of time. And I think
It's a waste
you know,
of time
you
and
get
energy,
like,
especially for the man.
Yeah.
And it kind of destroys the soul of a woman if she's been around with 50 guys. Like, come on.
I don't think so. No, because
No, it's too
everyone's got
much.
their past, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Oh, if a woman sleeps around with 20 guys or
Yeah.
more, she will lose the ability to parabond. That's the first thing.
Parabond.
Parabond, yeah,
Okay,
with the
yeah.
guy. And the second thing is if she's in a relationship
Yeah.
and then something is wrong with that relationship, the first thing she will think about is
No.
look for another guy.
I think that women in general don't think like that. I think that in general, it's not the first thing they think. It's the first thing that they think is to try and make that work, just for you know economic reasons. You know, it's yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But people change. You know, I think the a woman who's promiscuous has particular values, which means she's promiscuous, yeah? Has a particular worldview. And that worldview can change, you know, that worldview can change. So when that worldview is to think, yeah, I was promiscuous, but now I have no interest in that. And I understand, you know, I understand where that promiscuity came from and the values where that came from. That means then that you are kind of immune to those changed values and immune to that phase, and you've grown out of it, then I don't see why that past of that woman is going to influence her if she's in a committed relationship. I think, you know, women who are sex addicts, let's say, I mean, have they met the right guy and are being sex addicts despite having met the right guy, you know, a handsome and noble man like yourself in their life? I don't think so. I think it's the lack of that man. It's this promiscuity. And then when they meet that guy, you know, you're fine.
No, but the problem
Don't worry.
with...
As long as you're better than all of those guys, then she'll love you.
but the problem is with women, especially when they are young, they make the stupidest choices, especially in terms of dating. They always choose the wrong guy.
Sure,
like
but that's
the
human.
bad boy, the one who takes them through hoops, the
Right,
one...
okay, yeah.
They will never choose a nice guy. But magically, when they are old,
They do.
when they are old, they will look for the nice guy.
Well, it
See,
depends. Yeah, ideally,
I think it's not fair. It's not fair.
They want ideally, they get the best of both worlds, right?
Let's say if you have
Ideally, they want a guy who can be an absolute warrior, you know, but who's also impossibly kind and gentle to her. Yeah. And ideally, they get a guy who reads books and also can fight. Yeah.
I guess that's.
But of course, you know, and then often it's one or the other, and you know, so sometimes they might go and try the one and not the other, and then they'll switch to the bad boy and the good boy, and then.
Yeah, but
I think that is the best of both worlds is possible as well.
Possible, but it's rare.
Yeah.
It's rare.
It's rare.
Yeah, and then they make all these mistakes with these different guys, and then they blame all men. All men are not good.
Like, no. I don't find that. I don't find that. Okay, man hating. That's another thing. What I love about Poland, the culture, you know, the women. There's not this resentment. This kind of general and cultural resentment of men.
Like in the UK and the Western countries.
Okay, you know, like oh, man will be man, and they will always disrespect us, and they will always be toxic. You know, like patriarchy is because patriarchy is written into men's genes, and it's like, no, it's not. It's a
No.
condition of our society.
No, but don't you see that in Poland they still
and then
respect
that's
gender
what I mean.
roles?
So that's what I mean. And then like women here, you just don't see it as much here. You don't see this like hatred of men, fundamental hatred of men in women.
Just give it time.
And you know, like all of like this fundamental hatred of men in women in England. So there's these women who think, ugh, men, and then they're in a relationship, you know, with a man, and they're surprised when that relationship is going badly, you know, and they've got this fundamental resentment of the male species, you know. But of course, it goes the other way around as well, you know. The women, the men and women, it's like, and I believe, you know, the women have it worse in society. I believe there's this patriarchy, and women have a worse deal, you know. They earn less, and they're more vulnerable, and they have to have babies. Well, they don't have to have babies, but they're the baby makers, they're the baby bearers. And there's a lot of reasons why women have it worse. But yeah, and that's what I appreciate about Poland. You know, it's like, oh, you're a man, you do man things, you behave like a man, as distinct from behaving like a woman, and that's nice. I appreciate that.
That's nice.
You know,
yeah.
and no, that's what the women think. Yeah, they think it's nice and they appreciate it, and that's great. Yeah, that's great.
And what do you think about the Polish beauty? Do you think Polish women are more beautiful than
Wow.
British?
Okay.
Because I've heard this
Look,
argument. They told me
Let me
that
tell you this.
they told me that British women they put a lot of makeup.
I'm gonna give you the most Marxist answer I can possibly give you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but what is it? But what is it about Polish women?
I mentioned the depression epidemic in the depression epidemic in Britain.
Yeah.
And I think because of the depression epidemic in Britain, British girls aren't as handsome, aren't as attractive, aren't as beautiful as in Poland.
Because of the depression?
Because they're happier
and
here.
opioid.
They're happier here. You know, I know a good friend of mine. He started going out with a girl, you know, a woman, and when he started going out with her, she was very depressed, and she was a little bit plain looking, you know, a little bit plain looking. And then as they were together, and I think he's helped her out a lot, and she starts to be happier, and she starts to smile, and starts to just have the light in her eyes, you know. And then suddenly, you know, she looks very pretty, you know. She looks very pretty. From looking quite plain before to looking very pretty, this same person. And it was a case of her becoming happier in herself. And this was a massive difference. So you know about physiognomy, yeah? Physiognomy. And I think it's widespread in the, you know, the manosphere community to say that a man having good physiognomy is the key to him being attractive for women. But I think what is understated is it's the same for women as well. Yeah, it's the same for women as well. The physiognomy is the beauty.
Yeah, but certainly beauty is subjective in so many ways.
Subjective in so many ways.
Yeah, but
also objective. Let me tell you this, right?
Yeah, but for example,
if you meet a woman and you really make her feel so good, yeah. When she looks at she's gonna have the most beautiful face, yeah. And no one else will see a face that beautiful when they look at her, because it's for you. You make her that happy, yeah.
No, but I don't know what is it about Polish women, but there is always something about one of them, yeah. There is a smile, there is a secret, there is a curve.
Yeah.
No, they are all beautiful
they're
to
fantastic,
me.
aren't they?
They're fantastic, to be honest, yeah. Like the best relationship I've ever had in my life was with the Polish women.
Right.
And I'm forever thankful, yeah.
Yeah.
And closing this discussion, what's your one advice from your life that you want to give to people?
Okay.
Either in life or learning languages.
Okay. Well, I can probably try and give one that covers both of them. Okay, so I would say, live your life for you, and live your life according to what you think is right or wrong, or what you think you should or shouldn't do, rather than, and when that contradicts what someone else, doesn't matter who it is, when that contradicts what they think you should do, stand up for that and fight to stay on your path, on your mission and your purpose. And even when people say, oh, that will go wrong for you because you'll have all of these consequences, then you go headfirst into those consequences because you feel it's right. Those consequences will feel fine. They won't hurt you.
Yeah.
Because you stayed on your path and your purpose.
At least you tried, yeah. That's the...
You didn't just try. You succeeded. As long as you stay steadfast and you go on your path, you will be successful. Because whatever the outcome, that's what you were supposed to have. And you will, just like we said before, you gain that spiritually, and that spiritual growth is transmitted to the universe. So you will guaranteed success. As long as you stick to what you know is right, you will guaranteed success. Whatever happens to you, you will understand that that is what you're supposed to happen, and that was your success.
Yeah, certainly that was a great advice. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank
Amazing
you.
discussion. Thank you so much, man.